everyone, welcome once again to our program Behind the Mic right here on Zimbabwe Daily. My name is Titsi Patience Mashiri, and today we are on our program that delves deeper, issues that are making headlines in and around Zimbabwe. And today in our studio, we have had Life Mudzinga of the Community Water Alliance to take us through the Geo Pomona deal and why it should be terminated. Let's engage and talk about this. Please send through your comments. Don't forget to follow us through on our Twitter, on our Facebook, and as well as on our YouTube channel. So yes, let's get into this engagement.
Okay, thank you very much, our online viewers and the citizens within the Republic of Zimbabwe. Today we want to talk about a very hot issue within the city, which is the Pomona dam site contract between City of Harare and Geogenics. And as you are aware, on the 9th of March 2022, the city signed a memorandum of agreement with a Netherlands-based institution, private entity called Geogenics, to deal with issues of solid waste management, which we all agree are a challenge within the city, and which also has been a burden to the city, and the expression of and bad views of heaps of solid waste within suburbs is an expression of challenges within the city and its failure to address those challenges. So today we have convened this broadcast to focus on three issues. The first one is the contents of that contract, the contents of that agreement, which was signed on the 9th of March 2022. And then the second one, we are going to focus on the reasons why, as an institution, we believe that that contract should be terminated, and it doesn't represent what will provide a solution to challenges around solid waste management within the city. And last one, we are not only here to criticize or to challenge views and contracts of the city, but we are also here to proffer solutions. So I'm going to also touch briefly on what we think should be done to ensure that we address issues of solid waste management within the city. So this broadcast, we have dubbed it an attempt to delete the handwriting, a bad handwriting within the city on solid waste management. A handwriting that we believe is a curse on the city when it comes to solid waste management. And that handwriting is contained in the contract, its contents, and the people that are involved in terms of coming up with this memorandum of agreement. So I will delve into the contents of the agreement. In as much as the city signed an agreement with the Geogenics as an institution that is supposed to address issues of solid waste management at Pomona, there are provisions within the contract to create a project company through a special purpose vehicle. It has been dubbed as a special purpose vehicle that will then assume all the rights, all the obligations, and all the responsibilities within the contract. So after registering of that project company, the contract will cease to exist between City of Harare and Geogenics. It will be a contract between that newly constituted project company and City of Harare. So it's one of the provisions that is contained in the contract. And already a company has been registered, which is Geo Pomona Waste Management Private Limited. It is the company that now has all the rights, all the obligations, all the responsibilities contained in this memorandum of agreement. So it's no longer Geogenics, but it is now a local institution which has been registered. And this institution, the Geo Pomona Waste Management Private Limited, has assumed legal and beneficial ownership of everything that is going to happen. So the shareholders of that company will be running the shows when it comes to this agreement. So the contract also says, gives the new project company a leeway to transfer, to sell, or dispose its shares as it deems fit. And they have been given a leeway to do that. What they simply want to do is, what they are required to do is to inform City of Harare. And if City of Harare doesn't object in writing within 15 days, the assumption is that the city would have been agreed to disposal of the shares by the project company. Now, I want to state that we have got serious challenges with that arrangement. The two challenges that we have with that arrangement is, number one, our assumption is that whenever a state institution engage a private player, a contractor, to address these challenges, the contractor should have the necessary experience, the necessary expertise in line with the procurement regulations of the country. So when City of Harare engaged Geogenics, the assumption is that this company has the necessary expertise, has the necessary financial resources to, as an investor, to undertake this process. So when you bring in a new company registered within the process of commencement of that or implementation of that agreement, the challenges that come are questions around the credibility of that new company, the people who are involved, their expertise when it comes to solid waste management, their financial muscles, because this is a new company which we do not know whether it has the necessary knowledge, the necessary expertise. That's the first problem we have. And it brings a lot of governance challenges, requiring City of Harare to respond within 15 days if that project company wants to dispose its shares is not going to work, because the city has particular governance system for every decision that the city undertakes. It goes through the relevant committee, and on this matter, it's an issue that is supposed to be presented to the Environment Committee. And after that, the issue, after recommendations from the relevant committee, the issue is referred to the full council, which sits only once per month. That is within 30 days. So it is not going to be feasible to have the city respond within 15 days. So already you can see from the contents of the contract that Geogenics and the new project company, which is in this case is Geo Pomona Waste Management Private Limited, set provisions that are likely to ensure that they will take away almost everything in terms of what they would have proposed. So we have got serious challenges around that arrangement. So like I've said, capacity of the new company is an area of serious contestation, particularly in terms of its financial resource capacity, its muscle when it comes to having the necessary resources. Okay. Within the contract, that company is given, amongst other things, about three responsibilities or works that are contained on two schedules, Schedule 6 and Schedule 7. The first one is to develop, construct, manage, and operate the facility. And this facility that we are talking about is not only the waste to energy. There are two components that are part of this agreement. There's the issue of solid waste management, which is the first one, and then the second one, the waste to energy. So they are supposed to develop, construct, manage, and operate. Number two, they are supposed to finance, procure, install, and maintain the equipment that we bought for this facility. Number three, they are supposed to carry out all the works contained on Schedule 6 and Schedule 7. Schedule 6 deals with the work plan from the 9th of March 2022 up to a period to 2027, which is a period of 5 years. So we don't think that these responsibilities can be carried out by the new project company. Number two, I will look at the reasons why we are saying this will not work later on. Let me look at the contents first. Number two, after establishing this project company, the city of Harare is entitled to have access to, amongst other things, three key documents. Number one, articles of association for this company. Number two, resolutions adopted by shareholders of this company authorizing performance of this agreement. Number three, names of the chief executive officer, the financial officer, and technical director of the project company. And in this case, like I've said, that's Geo Pomona Private Limited. And we have not seen these documents from City of Harare, and today, as an organization, in line with the statutory instrument 229 of 2021, we have requested for information, assuming that as per provisions in the contract, the city has received these three documents. That is the articles of association, resolutions adopted by shareholders of the project company, as well as names of the chief executive officer, the financial officer, and technical director of the project company. All right, so we have written to them using the template provided under statutory instrument 229 of 2021. So we've written to them. So that's our first port of call in terms of the action plans that we are taking to ensure that we deal with issues of accountability around solid waste management within the city. There are obligations within the city, within the contract that the city is supposed to fulfill. So I'll talk about those obligations. There are about three obligations. The first obligation is that the city is supposed to have approval of this agreement. We all know that committees can only recommend. Committees of City of Harare can only recommend. Approval of anything at council is done through a full council. So what it means is that this agreement, after it being having passed through the relevant committee, that is in this case the Environment Committee, the memorandum of agreement was supposed to go to full council. That's one of the obligations that the city is supposed to fulfill. The second one is to have cabinet approval, and then last one is to have approval by the Ministry of Local Government. These are obligations or conditions that the city is supposed to fulfill before this agreement takes effect. We have not seen approval by council at the moment. So part of what we've also requested is to, from City of Harare, in line with Statutory Instrument 229 of 2021, is to get approval, copies of approval by council through a full council resolution. We know that cabinet has already approved the agreement, as well as the Ministry of Local Government. So we want this copy. Why this is very important? If it is not existing, there are provisions in the agreement that termination has to take effect within 30 days. So it is very, very important that we get this copy. And also we have heard the mayor of the city on different platforms stating that they have not accepted this agreement. And if we happen to see a full council resolution, then we will know that the mayor is politicking. But if we don't see them, we will then trigger our other initiatives where we want to engage the city based on provisions within the agreement to terminate this agreement. So the city, besides pronouncing its position, they have not stated whether there is a full council resolution approving this contract. So the conditions, there are conditions that are set on Article 4 of this agreement, which are what has been referred to as the long stop date. And Article 3, subsection 1, subsection 3, subsection 1 of the agreement gives the city the power to terminate the contract by giving a 30 days notice if conditions, these conditions are not met, like I've talked about full council approval. Okay, so the other provision in the contract is that the city is required to hand over the dump site to Geogenics free of charge and against no payments of any fees, tariffs, or taxes whatsoever. So the city is giving for free, and we, as an institution, we don't have any challenge with that provision. We were not expecting the city to give Pomona on a fee, but we are simply stating what is contained in the agreement. On Article 11, subsection 2, subsection 1, if Geogenics delay in the performance of works, a report should be sent to City of Harare within 7 days. If that doesn't happen, this lays the basis for termination also of this agreement. We have printed a schedule, which is schedule 7, sorry, which talks of what should have happened from from the 9th of March 2022 to the 9th of March 2024, 2 years down the line. There are deliverables that should have happened. And if they have not been done, the assumption as contained in the agreement is that they should have provided reasons within 7 days. The reason why we are sharing this information is that recently when Geo Pomona organized a press tour at the facility, they were rubbishing questions that were presented by journalists on the basis that these are hard lives questions. And we want to put it on record that these are contractual obligations. These are provisions within the agreement. And this is what is contained on Schedule 7, which talks of about project schedule around this initiative. So if they've not done that, it has to be also put on record that the city is different and a plethora of provisions within the agreement to terminate this agreement if it doesn't conform to timelines set. The other contents is around payment, where the city is obliged to pay $40 per ton for waste that is deposited at Pomona. And the agreement is specific that in the year 2022, the city cannot supply below 550 tons of waste per day. So that means if you multiply 540 times 40, these are monies that are due to geogenics on a daily basis. In 2023, the minimum quantities are increased to 650, pegged at $40 per ton. In 2024, which is the current year where we are in, the city is obliged to supply 750 tons per day at a cost of $40 per ton. In 2025, which is next year, the city is obliged to provide 850 tons per day at a cost of $40. In 2026, the minimum quantities for waste will be 1,000 tons per day at a cost of $40. So that means in 2026, the city will be paying 40,000 US on a daily basis. People have said the good practice is around what are called get entry fees when it comes to waste to energy facilities. We want to state as an institution that for us, these are not get entry fees, not because of the charges only. A get entry fee happens when you have entered the gate. That's why it's called the gate entry, and deposited the waste. That's when you call these get entry fees. But if you go to Article 21, subsection 2, section 1 of the agreement, whether the city has entered the gate, supplied the quantities or not, still they are obliged to pay. So these are not gate entry fees. A gate entry fee only happens when you have entered the gate and you have your waste through a weigh bridge, weighed in terms of its quantities, and then the charges accrue based on the quantities that you would have delivered. These are not gate entry fees, because we've seen technocrats around solid waste management, those with the doctorates, masters, and professors, arguing that good practice on these agreements is that there should be gate entry fees. These are not gate entry fees because they are obligatory, the payments, whether we have entered the gates or we have not entered the gates. So that's one. And then the second issue we have, this is a waste to energy facility. And our question is, why do you want waste a day after signing the agreement? Because the assumption is that if you want waste to use that waste to produce energy, nothing has been constructed at the moment. What is the purpose of waste? We have not seen any serious question around that. What is the purpose of delivering waste at Pomona as of today? Are you saying for 5 years, Geo Pomona is supposed to keep waste in anticipation of that waste to energy? Because where we have seen these agreements, waste only comes after construction is happened. And the waste to energy power plant will be completed in 2026. according to the schedule. In the 5th year, the last year, that's when you have the waste to energy. What is that waste that they are talking about being used for at the moment? Are you saying geogenics is keeping the waste for 5 years? This has to be a serious question. It's common knowledge that we think citizens have to ask, and it requires answers. What is evident to us is that this engaged contractor had no finances. So the basis for obligating the city to provide waste a day after the signing is to ensure that the revenue is collected, which will then give leeway for the Geo Pomona company to start construction based on already what the city is providing. So the city is simply financing itself. The so-called contractor or investor has nothing to show. And the other issue around this issue, waste is a raw material. We've always argued waste is a raw material on this aspect around waste to energy. Where have you seen in the world where the supply of a raw material pays for that particular raw material? It's a key question that we've answered, we've asked. Because if you look at the contract, they've said there are particular megawatts that they expect to produce from that power plant and sell those to ZESA. And we don't know why the city has to pay for a raw material that is being used to produce energy. If there are late payments by the city, there is interest. This is what is contained in the agreement. So, in brief, I would say, beyond other issues, which are the contract is actually very long. Those are key issues that are in the contract. So, on our side, we believe that this contract should be terminated. And I'm going to list the reasons why we think the contract has to be terminated. One, this contract places on jeopardy the operations of council in terms of its proper governance system. I have talked about provisions where the city, if it doesn't respond within 15 days, the assumption is that the city would have agreed. Yet, if you look at the provisions in the Urban Councils Act, decision-making within the city passes through a system of committees, and after committees only make recommendations, which are then presented to full council, where approval will be sought. So, full council only happen on a monthly basis within a period of 30 days. So, the first objection is that this agreement doesn't add value on good governance. It doesn't add value on the operations of the city when it comes to the proper processes and procedures as contained in the Urban Councils Act. Number two, the city has the necessary resources to pay these amounts, which are around 3 million on a monthly basis, if we are focusing only on the contract. But if you move beyond the contract to look at the addendum that was recently presented, the city will be obliged to pay 5 million every month. Everyone knows the revenue collection capacity of the city. We have the Auditor General's reports, which has looked at the collections on an annual basis for the city. I don't think the city can allow a situation where they will then divert about more than half of its yearly collections to just give to geogenics. that will not work. So that is one of the reasons why we think it is not appropriate. And I have already talked about the fact that these are not get entry fees. So if they are not get entry fees, we do not subscribe to a situation where the city uses its own resources to just give someone who has not done that anything, rather than justifying looting on the basis of having agreed to something through a stroke of a pen. So we don't agree to that issue. Then the other issue is that the city has had challenges because of its fleet around collection. That is the model that they are using: collect, transport, and throw away approach to waste management, where the city collect waste from suburbs, transport it to Pomona, and then dump it at Pomona. This is the reason why the city has failed since 1980 in terms of coming up with a solid waste management model. The same contract is still obliging the city to do the same, to collect, transport to the same venue, which is Pomona. That will not work. So our thinking is that we oppose this contract based on the model that it is presenting, which over the years has failed to give life to solid waste management within the city. Okay. So these are the reasons, ladies and gentlemen, that we are presenting as to why we are saying this contract has to be terminated. So it has no solutions that it can provide to the city. Now I want to move to the last part, where we are focusing on what are the proposed solutions. Because people think that we simply criticize without offering any alternative to the city. I want to state that we have been working with the city of Harare in terms of the model that I'm going to present around solid waste management. Our belief is that we should have community-based solid waste management centers that promote composting of biodegradable waste and recycling of plastics and papers. So all the waste in Ora should be composted. Composting has to happen at local level. So we need to have a center in Glenview, a center in Budiriro, a center in every suburb where the city composts the waste, not transport it to Pomona. Compost it at local level, produce organic manure, and sell that organic manure. The plastics produce pallets. They are now the new talk of town. Everyone is involved in waste collection and selling of waste, of plastic waste. And the city has already pronounced itself clearly on this position by giving out land and earmarking land within suburbs where they are going to construct what they are calling waste transfer centers. This is what will work. And the reasons why you have seen Geo pouncing on the city again recently to say they also want those waste transfer centers through the addendum that they did is because they know that that is a game changer when it comes to addressing solid waste management issues within the city. So refuse trucks should simply collect waste from households and place them at waste transfer centers, not to Pomona, where serious composting has to happen, as well as recycling. As an institution, we have given life to this initiative. We are providing financial resources, not only talking, through supporting with construction of these facilities to address waste management challenges within the city. So this is the game changer. And it's a position that is not only being echoed by us as an institution, as Community Alliance. It's a position that has been also presented and paraded in the public by the Environmental Management Agency, which is a quasi-government institution, by the Ministry of Environment, which is the parent ministry that deals with issues around environment and solid waste management. It's a position that is echoed not only within Zimbabwe, within the entire world. It's a global position. It's a good practice at international scene in terms of what can be done to deal with issues around the solid waste management. So for us, the 4R model to waste management is the game changer, is the solution. And if there is any investor who would want to come, not only to City of Harare, to any urban local authority that is struggling with integrated solid waste management issues, the 4R model presents a solution where waste is separated at a household level, biodegradable waste is put on its own container, plastics on their own, papers on their own, and that can produce results. There are already results on scrap metal. Everyone knew in the past that we used to have a very serious challenge around scrap metal within the city. But now you don't see any wreckage, car wreckage, around suburbs. It is simply because this model on recycling was adopted, and it addressed those challenges. So with those submissions, I say that we have come to the end of our broadcast, and we are very open to any questions that might be presented by the public, whether it's geogenics, whether it's Geo Pomona, whether it's City of Harare, or any stakeholder or any citizen who want to engage us on what we have presented. We are open. And I want to close by saying that the basis of us disagree with this contract, with this agreement, and compelling the city to terminate this agreement is not emanating from the existence of politically exposed persons as the people who are pushing the agreement, who are the beneficiaries behind the agreement. Because we have seen that sound thinking around this component has been watered down by those who believe that we are simply opposing on the basis that we have players involved in this agreement who are political players. No, that's not the position. Our position is anchored on what we've presented. It is anchored on the basis that it will not provide any solution. It is anchored on the fleecing of the city of its few resources. And it is anchored on a history, not only of scrap metal, and it's also even the time that we had Zinwa taking over local authorities, and how it is, damaged water provision. That recovery to date has not happened within local authorities, particularly the City of Harare. So it is not based on that. So it's not a political partisan issue. It's a position based on thorough assessment of the situation, reading of the contents of the agreement, and even assessments after 2 years. We already have 2 years since this agreement was signed. It's also based on our assessment of what has happened. How has that agreement been financed? So all those components is what has led us to take this position. So thank you very much, and we'll be responding to questions. I think our colleagues who have also taken these videos from Zim Daily have said that they will be prepared to give us questions that will come from their platform so that we can address some of these challenges. Thank you very much.
Maybe just a question. It's depressing just listening to the whole Geo Pomona deal. And the City of Harare Mayor, Councillor Jacob Mafume, said they have refused to be a party to what's going on. So I would want to know It's been 2 years already since they set up base. How are they being funded? Is the money coming directly from Treasury to them, or it's a debt that is accumulating?
I think if you look at that's another question which is not clear. But what I know for a fact is that Geo Pomona is not using their own resources to do what they are doing at Pomona. So the project has been given national project status. So if a project happens to have had that national status, the Treasury, through the Ministry of Finance, can provide funds directly to such a project. We don't have it on good authority or in terms of evidence whether the Treasury has disbursed. But what we hear in terms of rumors is that at one point the city devolution funds were, they were attempts to then pay from the city's devolution funds. And number two, that the Ministry of Finance wants to bankroll this project. Whether the city is paid here or there, those are some of the reasons why we have, in terms of access to information as a human right, and using the templates provided through Statutory Instrument 229 of 2021, we have requested for that information from the city, so that at least we can enforce accountability and also exercise our environmental rights, which are on Section 73 of the Constitution. So it's not clear. That's part of the reason why people are very angry, because when you are looking at people who are what we can tell politically exposed persons, if they are key political players involved in any deal, it's not easy to get information around some of these initiatives. So we hope that the city will do the right thing, because they might be also not aware or not privy to some of this information as a local authority. And there are other very disturbing issues. I think if you look at this deal, know that it was signed during the era when there were squabbles within councillors emanating from the opposition. And we had an acting town clerk who was not a substantive head of any department within the city. He was a junior under the Department of Works. First, he assumed the position of acting director of the Department of Works. And later on, he then assumed the position of acting town clerk. We had two substantive directors. The director of Harare Water, Engineer Mabena Moyo, was a substantive director. We had Dr. Jones. He was a substantive director of the Department of Health within the city. These ones were not, so the time that this deal came into effect, you should not ignore that. And you should also know that there are provisions in the contract where the other question where we have also even asked the city is around, is this person still the authorized representative of the city? Or has Engineer Hosea Chisago, who is the substantive town clerk, assumed that role? Because you can't have someone who is a nobody in the city in terms of hierarchy of positions signing on behalf of the city and continue to present himself as an authoritative representative of the city when the town clerk is there. So we also want to know from the town clerk whether he is now the authoritative representative of the city on this agreement based on his position.
And it would also be interesting to actually know, given that, if a contract, I want to believe that if certain provisions of the contract are not met, then that's a condition for termination of the contract.
Yes.
2 years later, the city council doesn't have a resolution. And why is the contract still running? Why is Geo Pomona company there at Pomona right now?
The first question is, the provision says within 30 days the city should write to Geo Pomona. Have they written a letter? That's the first question. Before we point fingers even at Geo Pomona or claim any political involvement, has the city written an official letter on termination? If the city has done that, we can start on that basis. If the city has not done that and still wants to push full council resolution on this matter, 2 years down the line, I don't think we are now in the third year. So these are positions that I think the mayor particularly should clarify, because we are tired of politicking around this deal. What we want are clear positions with evidence. Do we have a full council resolution? If it is not there, has the city written to Geogenics? If they have written to Geogenics in terms of terminating the agreement, then we can start from there. Why is Geogenics still at Pomona? There are funds on early termination. I think that's part of the agreement. I think it's around 3.5 million. But to us, I was saying it's better to pay 3.5 million once than to have millions and millions, 3 million on a monthly basis. Over 30 years. Remember, this contract is valid for 30 good years. 3 million per month times 12, that's 36 million. Times 30, that's nearly hundreds and hundreds of millions in US dollar. So thanks for that question. So those are gray areas that I think even the media should ask the mayor. We are not trying to place the mayor on a spotlight, but at least we want evidence. We want factual engagements. We don't want, rabble-rousing and politicking around a matter that affects residents. Remember, it is residents who are paying for solid waste management. These are ratepayers' funds that we expect that they have to be used in an accountable manner. Any question or point of clarification that any of our colleagues might require? All right, so if we are done, thank you very much, like I've said. So lastly, I'll talk about maybe briefly what is our next port of call. We have presented this to the city, and we expect to get these documents. We are going to engage residents within suburbs so that they can make decisions from an informed basis. We are not going to only present our position to say the deal has to be terminated, but we will explain the contents of the agreement and allow residents to make a choice based on what is contained in the agreement. But on our part, what we are gathering, we might be pushing towards public interest litigation. We know that there are different institutions that have already presented this as a case before the court, but we have a different avenue, a different view legally in terms of what we want to challenge based on what I have already stated in terms of the contents in the agreement. So we'll be gathering information first before we just rush to the courts to present our case. We believe that it is in the interest of the public to litigate against this agreement. And yeah, so thank you very much.